Well, I just need to wait 1 second so I can turn it down. Um, yeah, so I was in the city yesterday and I got to take a continuum class with Mary Abrams, who is fantastic and I love her. And I've been studying with her for many years. And so she did a couple things that I'm just going to use in our session today that were really great. So when people we came in and people were talking about having digestive issues, I've got this knee issue, she had a shoulder issue. So I'm going to use some of the stuff that is her stuff from the continuum class and some of my own. But let's start with this. So, and this is kind of hers. It's Emily Conrad, but it's also, and Liz Koch, like all the people that are doing this kind of work. Liz Cook. This is really about freeing up your face. And if you have glasses, take them off. Maybe see what I'm doing for a minute. So what it is it's called the petal breath, but we're going to take it a little deeper than the petal breath. So, oh, I'm very excited. I can feel myself all excited. So what the petal breath is like, it's like your mouth is like a flower that's opening and closing, but it doesn't have to be like symmetrical. It can be very uneven. And it's going to be an O sound. And the other thing that I like to do with it is to allow the resonant chamber of my mouth down into my guts to kind of have some spaciousness. So I'll show you what it looks like. And I'm going to let my face really free up. So I might look really weird, but I'm not going to control it. I'm just going to let it happen. So I'm playing with the space inside my face, down my throat, and even imagining it all the way down into my pelvis. It's easier to get deep with a lower sound, but you can do any pitch that feels good. If you want to really get up into your head, you can go with a higher pitch. So we'll just play with that for a couple of breaths. Maybe if it feels good, hand on your chest and hand on your belly. I'm going to back up a little bit. And also just to say later on, we're going to be using, it doesn't have to be a foam roller, but if you have bolsters or something that you can prop up your knees with, because we'll be on our backs. All right, so into this petal breath for just a few minutes. Allowing yourself to come into yourself without the need to fix or change, but just to be present with. But as this stuff is happening, things will be shifting and changing. So not forcing it, not fixing, but feeling. If any micro movement starts to come up, just allow it, or macro movement. So all of this whole time, feel free to take everything in what feels good and right in your own body. It might be very, very different than what I'm doing. That's okay. As you're in your play, if you notice that a pattern is arriving and kind of repeating itself, shift it. So if you feel like you kind of get into a process that is one thing, just let it change into something else. Give it some spaciousness. Yeah, so in a sense, what we're inviting in is like this shifting of the inner space. And maybe that's shifting the outer space, but letting whatever is happening in our nervous system, in our body, allowing it to express without needing to have a story or needing to understand it or any of that, just allowing your body to be an organic process that's happening. Letting that sound come to a rest when it feels right for you, and just settling into yourself or feeling into yourself, sensing into your body. And really inviting in this inquiry practice where we're just feeling into with curiosity what's going on without any need to analyze, but just to notice, just to come in and to witness/withness yourself, to be with. And as we're together in this space, there's sort of a field of energy that's created. So we're all just diving into that field together. So we're going to do one more breath pattern, and that is the Jacques. It's a continuum breath, and it's called Jacques because it's like a and again, you have this opportunity to use that kind of opening and closing of your mouth, of your face, of like we could think of that opening and closing as like the sphincter muscles of your mouth, and then that can move down your digestive system. So there's a lot of them on the way. We have a lot of these sphincter muscles in our body that kind of, some of them are just one way directional. Some of them things can go both ways, but most of the time we usually want things just to be going in one direction. So just playing with that with our Jacques. And you can let your hands, I'm going to put my hands on my knees because they need the love right now. If you have any kind of part of your body that needs touch, just let your hands rest there. Taking resting breaths whenever you need them, or just stillness. Really listening in, feeling in to the sort of volume, the thickness, the vibrational, maybe it's fluffy, who knows what's going on inside of you, but feeling into whatever's percolating in there or whatever's calming down. Could be bubbling up or bubbling down, maybe settling. So I'm going to take it down to the floor, and I want to invite in this pattern. It's core distal, which means like from the center to the edges. So like from our belly, from our gut body out to our fingertips or out to the crown of our head, to our tail, to our toes. So just bringing in this sort of, it can be an imaginary growing and shrinking pattern, like where we're growing out and coming back in. It could be that really big, or it could be just in our imagination of reaching out, radiating away from center, and then coming back into center in kind of a micro movement way. And allowing your body to ripple and wave in any way that feels good. So what I'm noticing is that as I invite in this core distal pattern, the center to the periphery, a head-tail pattern is coming up as well. So just listening in, seeing what's happening with your body and playing in with that. I am going to add one more breath that you may want to do or not do, and it's the theta breath. So it's the soft hiss. All of these breaths are going to slow down our exhale, which is going to drop us into a more parasympathetic rest, digest, soothe, settle state. But don't feel like the goal is to have like a 20-minute exhale. Just let go of any kind of goals here and just be in process without having to do anything other than be present with yourself. So playing with that for a few minutes. That center to edge, center to periphery awareness going out and coming in, it might happen very quickly, it might happen very slowly. So trust your own version of however it's happening. And it might be that your body has an interest in staying out on the edge for a while or staying really in the center. So let it play out however it feels good. And maybe something totally different is happening. That is okay too. Feel free to bring back any of the breaths or any other sounding that feels interesting, or don't do it at all. It's all whatever feels right to you. If you find yourself planning out your pathway, just let go of that and go somewhere different, right? And as soon as you notice a pattern, just change it. It could be the slightest, tiniest, subtle change or something really big. So we're inviting ourselves to move into novel territory, to things that aren't so familiar. And if your mind starts to wander off to the past or the future or any kind of stories or anything like that, it's not like you have to not let them happen. They can be there. Just take your awareness back into sensation, back into being in your body, back into this flow, right? We're in this flow of being alive right now in our body and feeling what it has to say, feeling what's happening. And it may sometimes be like kind of a nudge, and maybe it's sometimes a receiving, just really letting yourself receive from your own cellular intelligence. And if there are distractions happening also, like outside of yourself, sounds or sights or smells or anything, kittens running around, which today there aren't in my world. But if there are things, just let that be there. It's okay. That's happening too. My quote from Mary Abrams yesterday was, "Gravity says you belong. Gravity says you belong here on the planet. In any situation that you're in, gravity says you belong." And one more thought to that gravity says you belong. Allow yourself to really make an imprint into the ground. Let yourself settle into it or into the bed or into the floor, into the earth. Let your body settle into the gravity that's holding you, letting your body create an imprint. Even as we play with this core distal pattern, we can still make our mark on the ground. We can still release into it. We might say that this is like a shamatha on core distal. So like our meditation practice, our awareness practice, bringing our focus to the center, to the edge relationship. So sometimes I just try to feel like, can I just feel what's happening at the tips of my fingers, the edge of my toes? And can I feel what's happening deep in my guts, deep in my belly? And go back and forth between those awarenesses, or that one awareness. So I want to add one more layer to this, and this is the connecting of the circuits. And so for me, I'm going to use this foam roller, and I'm going to connect the soles of my feet together. I'm also going to put my hands together, and they can go anywhere. It could be that you cross things, that might be enough to connect it. So listen to your decision of how that wants to feel good for you. This could also be a way of connecting in, connecting the circuit of yourself. Sometimes enclosing is great, but for right now, for me, what I need is the soles of the feet and palms of the hands. This is a Mary. This was from Mary, this idea of connecting the circuit through the hands and feet. And just to put a plug for Mary, you can also take her class on Tuesdays and Thursdays online, Moving Body Resources. It's like 2 hours of just diving in. So with this, let's go back to the O sound with the petal breath, or any kind of easy O sound, and then followed by, whenever you feel like it, the Jacques or the theta. So or no sound at all, if that feels good, but you can play with it. When you feel like you're done, just let yourself go into open movement. So it's all that you get to decide how long you want to do something, when you feel you're ready to move to something else. And maybe it's something totally different. And if you ever feel like you just need to come back to you as yourself, as your sort of personality, just get up and walk around or check out the space around you. So diving into the inner space can really take us into the outer space where we feel like we're not connected anymore when we get really deeply connected. It's funny. So if anything feels threatening, you're just meeting you, but you could get up and stop. Always feel free to stop. All right. Here I go. And I started with the Jacques instead of the O's. So I'm already doing my own thing. Allowing movement if it's arising, or staying in stillness if that feels good. I think I'm going to share sound. Yeah, just like maybe 5 or 10 more minutes of some Jeff Gersh. Oh, letting yourself play with any of the things that we've played with. Free movement or staying still, any way that feels right and good to you. Moving towards deliciousness, letting go, accepting, kindness and compassion. sense of our own experience. I am also going to mute myself for a few minutes. And just coming back in together. I'm going to stop recording in just a second, but I want to say that once I started doing this kind of work, like the really deep dive somatic practice, um, it's not like going to a Pilates class or a yoga class where sometimes you come out and you're like, oh, now I feel great. It's kind of like, oh, now I've gone in. It's like I sometimes feel like, oh, I just need to spend a lot more time doing this. And it's not like this instant revival type thing that sometimes fitness classes or movement classes can have for you. So I just want to name that for myself, like going in and spending time with this, it's like, these are just tiny little dives. Like this could be hours and hours of work of just or play, depending on how you look at it, of just going in and being present with yourself. So I'm going to stop recording and just let you know in TV land that this is a Zoom room and there are other people in here with me. So if you ever want to be in the mix,